Welcome to Small Arms Solutions. Today we have Joe Meaux from Akly Defense here with us to do a series of videos. One of the things about Akly Defense is one of their primary things they do is sound suppressors. They've done pretty much for any caliber. Ones we're going to be talking about today are going to be the 22 and the 9mm. Now I actually have both of these suppressors and I've been using them, I'd probably say for almost 2 years now. Now that they're free from being an NFA quarantine, I've been using them pretty regularly. Excellent quality suppressors. The one I started out with was the Copis. The Copis is for a 22 long rifle. My son, when we first got into shooting, he didn't like loud noises. So the louder, the 223, those really bothered him. But getting him a 22 and getting him the sound suppressor, at first it was put on his ZK-22. And that took him from somebody who was very sensitive to sound, with the louder guns that made him flinch and made him nervous, to taming something down totally where he really enjoyed it. So I would have the suppressor on the gun and take him out and he was totally fine. Then he decided he wanted to learn how to shoot pistols as well. So we decided to do the same thing. We wanted to go with a 22 pistol. So I ended up getting him one of the American Tactical GSG Firefly pistols with the Kopis. But we had a perfect platform for him to start learning how to use a pistol. So with this combination, he got familiar with pistols, and now we're to the point where he can shoot regular calibers with or without suppressors. But it was really a good way to break him in to the shooting sports in a way that wasn't going to make him afraid because of the noise. So that was my first experience with the Kopis. What Joe's going to do, he's going to go over these things because there's some pretty interesting facts about these, especially this one. That he's going to talk about how they're made and so forth. So I think I'm just going to turn it over to you.
Sure. Well, the 22 is one of my favorite calibers in general. It's very inexpensive to shoot. You can carry a lot of it. A range day, you can carry enough for all day for several people in one bag. So it's a great teaching round. And starting off new shooters, you definitely want to limit the outside distractions so you can focus on the fundamentals, the capabilities, trigger squeeze, sight alignment, manipulation of the controls, and that concussion can be wearing and fatiguing on a shooter. So a suppressed 22 pistol and whatever variation is the ideal way to start with a shooter. Guys, please don't take your girlfriend, your kids out and bring out the 357 and start them with something like that.
You're going to scare right away from the sport.
We are at a deficit. We're losing more people in the firearms industry than we ever have.
Yes.
We need to bring people in and have them understand it the right way.
One of the ways, positive experience.
Absolutely. And one of the ways we can do that is with suppressors. Suppressors are not the tools of assassins. Suppressors are not this evil thing that a lot of people make it out to be. Suppressors are actually very simple in concept devices. They take a fast, loud impulse and slowly release it. Let's say you take a balloon, and if you have a blown up balloon and you pop it with a pin, you get a very loud bang. Mm-hmm. If you take that same balloon and you release it slowly, it's a much slower, much quieter event. Mm-hmm. Now you can slow that down in between the firing of gunshots and still maintain excellent suppression. That's probably one of the best ways that I've ever heard it explained, and it's one of my engineers that came up with that concept. It was something that really clicked, and it works well with being able to have people visualize how a suppressor works. So we're taking that instantaneous release of the explosive gases, and we're slowing that release down, and then letting those gases escape. It's a very simple concept, but there's a lot of science and art behind it to be able to do it effectively.
I'd like to add to something that you were talking about as far as people's perception that criminals use these. About 10 years in forensics. I was a forensic firearms examiner at Wisconsin Department of Justice State Crime Lab in Milwaukee, as well as the Monroe County Crime Laboratory in Rochester, New York. I can honestly say to you, in 10 years in very, very violent towns, I have never seen a real suppressor come in a crime. Never. I have seen people try to do makeshift ones. I've seen them try to use Coke bottles, which doesn't work. I've seen people try to make them out of mufflers. I have never seen, ever, I've never had an actual suppressor come in a crime. That is not what these are used for. That's what television tells you, but that's not the reality.
So the Kopis 22 is one of our most popular items, and it's our most popular suppressor. The Copis is threaded 1/2x28, so it pretty much fits across any 22 platform. 1/2x28 is the de facto standard. It is the lightest 22 suppressor on the market. It's 2.4 ounces, yet it still holds a lifetime warranty and full auto rating. At Akly Defense, we like to maintain simple, very easy to use products for new or experienced shooters. When you're out shooting, it's very valuable time. We want to save you time. So you don't want to have to worry about complex suppressors and tools and mounts and things. During the shooting procedure, if you have a very long shooting day and you're planning on shooting 2,000 rounds, the Copis is designed to have a self-cleaning feature where you just loosen it up, spin the tube, and it shears off a lot of the debris. Knock it out, put it back together, make sure the threads are clear, put a little anti-seize if it's not there, and go back to shooting. To do that, you don't need any specialized tooling. Up front, we have basically slots that a quarter or 2 quarters or a nickel or a 2230 battery, pretty much anything that fits in there snugly works great for the front. On the back, it's a 7/8 wrench. 7/8 box-in wrench is the most common wrench. That's the biggest one in pretty much any set. Crescent wrench. In a pinch, I've used the door of a desk drawer to kind of wedge it and open it up. It's wrench flats. It's the simplest tool interface we could come up with. So the nut comes apart off the back of the core slides out. So that's the sum total of the parts. The core, the nut, and the tube. Now the great thing about this tube, again, we want the simplest and we value your time. Accidents do happen with suppressors. You have strikes. Sometimes you shoot 9mm through your 22 suppressor and bad things happen. So with that in mind, we use what's called the future-proof tube. This is the same tube we've been selling with our 22 suppressors for a very long time. It's a very simple part. It's a tube. It's type 3 hard anodized. It'll never wear out. The part that comes into play with that is the core. This is the replaceable part. So if for some reason it gets damaged or for some reason you figure out how to shoot it out, we'll happily replace it. The biggest feature though is this is not the same core that we've been producing for the last 7 years. This is a new core that we released about 2 years ago, and we offer it to anybody that purchased the old style suppressors.
To see what I've got.
Send it in and swap it out. I'm pretty sure you have one of our later generation cores. I think you were one of the first ones to get it. Simple and easy to use, extremely good performance. Sound performance is up there with all of the industry best. It is a monocore, so you would typically expect a lot of first round pop. This is one of the lower first round pop monocore suppressors that's on the market. Again, it is the lightest, and it MSRPs for about $2.99, so it's very economical suppressor.
About the same as your deck stamp.
Yep. Again, type 3 hard anodized core, 70-75, so it's a very robust can. Whenever you put it on the end of a gun, the lightweight basically gives you it gives you the feel of the gun without the suppressor. So that's the Akly Defense Kopis 22 suppressor. Now for that graduation from that 22 suppress pistol, where do you go from there? Well, you take the suppressor off and have the standard 22. After that, then you transition into a more serious cartridge. 9mm is very prolific. It's inexpensive. Most people have a 9mm pistol, whether it's a Glock or a Smith & Wesson. Threaded barrels are fairly inexpensive. You can get a Glock drop-in barrel starting at around $125.
I have a silencer coat barrel that's I have in mind that attaches right to. I have one of these. I have had it for a couple years, and I've used it extensively in multiple pistols. In fact, if you look at my videos, you'll see this used on several different pistols in my videos. I've had awesome luck with it. The thing has worked awesome.
It's a terrific suppressor, and I'm not just saying that because we make them, but I really do think we offer something different and better to the market than anybody else. Not only in our 22 suppressor, but in our 9mm suppressor. Modern 9mm semi-automatic handguns are built to very good tolerances, so nowadays we can just get drop-in barrels. In the past, with the 1911s and high powers, to have a threaded system, you had to have a custom-fitted barrel and things like that. So you can inexpensively get your pistol set up for suppressor use. Next, you would have to get the suppressor. Most suppressors that are available out there, you buy the suppressor, and then you have to buy the lid or the Nielsen device, the piston that allows the firearm to work. So where does that come into play? Well, if in the case of this Glock, which is a Browning tipping breech style action, whenever the Glock cycles, or any of the Browning actions cycle, the barrel drops back down and allows it to function. That's its locking breech action. If you put weight up here, the slide and the barrel can't decouple any longer. So with the added weight of a suppressor, the gun wouldn't function. So there has to be a device that allows it to do that. And that's the Nielsen device, or the piston, or the lid, or all the different names for it. In the end result, basically it's a shock absorber for the barrel that allows it to function. It's a spring-loaded piston. Most silencer and suppressor companies require you to purchase that separately. In the case of the Akly Defense Pilum, it comes with the can. Whenever you order it, you select whether you want 1/28 or 13.5. Those are the two prolific barrel threadings. I don't believe there's really anything else out there between those two choices.
And this basically not only will it go on a pistol, but by modification to the piston and removing that for a spacer, you can put this in on a carbine, like a Colt 9mm carbine, a SIG MPX, or any kind of a 9mm carbine.
Absolutely. It is a very robust and cross-platform can. So it's not just a pistol suppressor for 9mm. It can suppress anything from 357 Magnum, 357 SIG, all the way down. And really, it sounds great on 22 long rifle too. So if you going to end up limiting yourself to one can, you got to have a 22 suppressor. If you want to have a little bit more flexibility, the Pilum gives you 9mm, 22, everything down from 9mm, as well as 300 blackout subsonic on short barrel guns, as well as 300 blackout supersonic on 16-inch and longer barrels. So it's a very flexible can. When you do install it on a fixed barrel gun, you do need to replace the piston with some sort of mount, whether it's a brake mount in our QD system or a direct thread system. So that's talking about what's going on back here. We explained the future-proof tube system with the 22 Copis. It follows along with the Pilum as well. Very simple. Again, no special tooling, just simple wrench flats. The tube is non-threaded, very simple, very robust. It is your registered part, so it's the part that's going to follow your tax stamp. If anything major happens that has damage to the core, damage to the lid area, or any of the operating system of the suppressor, you can send it back in and we can swap it out or repair it for you. It uses O-rings in the back just for gas seal. And the core is, again, 7075 Type 3 hard anodized, so it's a very robust coating with a very high strength material.
So this one would not go into an ultrasonic cleaner?
We do not recommend any aluminum suppressor, and I don't know of any manufacturer that does for ultrasonic cleaning.
I wanted to bring that up because there's a lot of people who've put these in ultrasonic cleaners and they've come out in stainless steel color. And they were totally removed the finish out of the anodizing, so I just wanted to reiterate that statement.
It does compromise the metal as well. Sometimes people get lucky with ultrasonic cleaning aluminum suppressors. Most oftentimes there is going to be damage whether it's visible or not. It'll actually fracture and break the anodizing off, and then you have bare aluminum. And if you see bare aluminum after anodizing, that means you've lost metal. Because anodizing is a two-component coating process. It's about 50% into the metal and 50% out of the metal. So it's let's say you have a 2 mil coating. A mil is going to be growth and a mil is going to be into the metal. So if you don't see black anymore, that means you've lost 2 mils plus of coating. And that's what can happen with ultrasonic cleaning with aluminum suppressors. So the can is very robust. It's full auto rated again for any carbine or 9mm pistol or 22 long rifle. The flexibility allows you to fit it to just about any 9mm and down platform that's available. Fit it to 300 blackout pistols as well as rifles. So it really is a great value. MSRP on this can is $499. Now that's $499 ready to go. You don't have to buy the lid or any other adapters. It comes with it ready to go on your gun with your one choice of items. Extra adapters and extra lids are very inexpensive and can be discounted at the time of purchase.
One of the really popular questions that I get a lot, and I'm not really as much of an expert as you are, by no means, in sound suppressors. What is the proper way to maintain these? When do you maintain them, and what do you do to get the longest life out of this thing as possible?
Well, 22, 9mm, 357, basically any of the pistol or 22 cartridges, they are inherently very dirty because it's a relatively low pressure round, so there's not a complete burn of gas. It's normally a very inexpensive round, so they're using lower quality powders, full metal jacket bullets. Even though it says full metal jacket, the base of the bullet is exposed lead, so you can get vapor lead through there. 22 is full lead, so you're going to get that buildup that needs to be cleaned, which is why most of the time you see 9mm 22 suppressors, especially in our product line, as a user serviceable system, because they will fill up with stuff. Both the Pilum and the 22 have a little bit of a self-cleaning function. Whenever you disassemble the Pilum 9mm, it scrapes and cleans up the tube itself. So whenever it comes apart, you'll just dump some of the larger chunks. Here you can use a copper or a brass, maybe even a soft stainless brush, and just scrape in there and move it out. But it does require a little bit of special capabilities of soda blasting. Soda blasting is a soft and very effective way to clean suppressors, and you can get a suppressor looking brand new with that method. Outside of that, a stainless brush, some CLP of some sort, and you can keep your suppressor looking new for a long time. Maintenance intervals with 22 suppressors. With the Copis, we recommend taking it apart at least every 500 rounds, knocking the debris out and spinning it to self-clean. After about 1,500 to 2,000 rounds, you want to get in there and do some cleaning with wire brush and some oil and some CLP. So with the 9mm suppressor, you'll want to break it free every few hundred rounds just to loosen things up, just to make sure that it's not going to get seized. Because if it gets seized, then you're going to have to kind of get some CLP, wait for it to break it and loosen it.
For that too.
Ed's red, Croy, I mean, just about anything as long as it's not like a corrosive. You're not going to want to use one of the older hops or Purple Power or something like that that'll have that corrosion tendencies.
So as a factory, you'll recommend CLP or Croyle or
some variation of the mini CLPs that are out there. There's some great stuff. Lucas makes awesome stuff. You can get some transmission oil-based things that work really well. So it's really your preference.
296 CLP.
That looks like a great one.
US mil spec.
It looks like it's a nice thin lubricant. It'll get in there and
US mil spec.
Excellent. After that initial breakup, more thorough cleanings. You're gonna want to clean it at least after 1,000 rounds. Get in there with a brush, break some up. Let's copper scraper or something of that nature. Just pop things out.
Well, since you're talking about cleaning dirty cans, I happen to have a 22 can here that's, God, I don't even want to think how many rounds have been through it. So maybe you can demonstrate for us how that's going to work.
Have you followed the manufacturer's recommended procedure?
Absolutely not.
Of any kind of cleaning interval?
Not at all.
All right. Well, here is a factory fresh Copis with about 200 rounds through it. They have your Copis with an unknown amount of threading of rounds through it, and I can tell that this has got some significant weight to it. Let's see, we got a...
I thought you told me when I bought this from you that it was self-cleaning.
Yeah, you got to take it apart for the self-cleaning action to work. Well, you have a wrench or something that'll fit that?
I've always been a good Boy Scout.
What we have here is one of the other suppressor manufacturers' special tools. Their special tools actually will fit our stuff too. Just a 7/8 inch wrench flat. All right, so crack it, make sure it's loose. And then spin the can. Wow, you have shot this a lot. Let's see what we got here.
Told you.
Oh, there we go. All right, I got it loose. A little bit of spinning. You can already see how much debris is coming out. Wow. There we go.
Well, when I tell you I test your gear, you can definitely see that I do.
Well, you can see that spinning action, just the spinning of back and forth.
Yeah.
You want to get a good, at least 1 or 2 360 spins, and that breaks up a lot of the tube. Pull it apart. If you do kind of have a stubborn movement, you just crack the nut a little bit, press it on the ground on a surface, and pop it loose. Take it apart the rest of the way. It still looks not too terrible over here. There we go. So we have some carbon buildup. These large bits of carbon were the carbon buildups that were going to be in these front-facing corners adhered to the edge of the tube. So that spinning action broke away these large chunks. The tube itself is fairly caked with carbon, but by no means unsalvageable. We've got quite a bit of buildup. We probably have a full, maybe 3/16 of carbon buildup on this front wall right there.
Wow.
The second wall, maybe a 16th, and you can see where the gas is depositing all that carbon, and it gets a little bit lower and less as it goes to the front. I would estimate this can's probably got 1.5 ounces, maybe 2 ounces of lead and carbon. So even with however many rounds you've shot through it, it was still relatively easy to take apart and get set up. Now this is one I'd recommend. Let's go ahead and soak it in CLP, loosen it up, run a copper brush through it, chip away some of that scaling. Or if you have access to that soda blaster.
Where would you find one of those?
Any of the import tool places will probably have it. They're fairly inexpensive on Amazon. You just want to be very careful to wear a respirator because you are going to be creating a little lead cloud and carbon cloud, so you don't want to breathe in the soda that comes off of here.
Hey, guess I got some work to do.
Speaking about this, how's your 9mm can? This was going to need some work, isn't it?
That one has had a lot of rounds.
Okay.
There's absolutely no question it's had a lot of rounds.
I think we're going to need a vise and some tooling on this one. All right, long story short, follow the manufacturer's recommended cleaning intervals.
Well, this is some very good information. A lot of people ask about what's the proper way to maintain one of these things. And we have a manufacturer who has a lot of experience who is basically telling us how to do that. And it definitely has its intervals that it should be, as I can see now. You can certainly see some of the self-cleaning aspects of this particular design. But yeah, I guess we're going to have to figure something out with this other one.
Yeah. The biggest thing is there's a lot of great suppressors out there. There's not a whole lot of bad ones. There are a few out there. But just follow the manufacturer's recommended specifications. I think we have some of the best value, especially with a 9mm. And we probably have the best value in 22 cans with the Copis. But just follow the manufacturer's recommended routine and maintenance. Because we developed that item, so we'll know the best method and best time period because we've created those tolerances and those movements and those shapes as far as the way the edges are formed here, the clearance between the tube, the O-rings, the threading. All of that's been taken into account with those intervals and the cleaning process.
Is there any difference in the way you would maintain this versus a high-powered rifle when I went for a 5.56 or a 7.62?
Most centerfire rifle cans burn extremely clean. It's much higher pressure. The bullets are much higher quality. There's a less exposed lead base. So you're going to get a lot less lead buildup and you're going to get much less carbon because it's a cleaner burn. So you can clean a centerfire rifle can, but most people will never shoot a centerfire can to the need of cleaning it. Where a lot of people like the user serviceability is to be able to look at the health of the can, make sure everything's going well. Or if, say you have a 5.56 suppressor, and you have it on your AR with a 22 conversion, it allows you to be able to train and utilize it with that and still take it apart and clean all that 22 lead debris out.
I'd had the opportunity to do some work with suppressors when I was in forensics. And I did a lot of interviewing and talking to people. And I talked to somebody who was he was a SOCOM guy at a crane. And I was asking him about what do you guys do with your suppressors there. He goes, like for our Mark 23 suppressors that we use, we actually weigh them. Mm-hmm. And once they get over a certain weight, we destroy them. Because that tells you that it's no longer serviceable. That's
a lot of shooting. Probably a full auto fire will create a lot more carbon. Short barrel rifles will create more carbon and lead debris because you're having more of that blast in the can, more of that unburnt powder. So there are some specific cases in the case of those items where a user serviceable or a maintenance schedule may be required.
Well, I think what we're going to do now is we're going to take both of these suppressors out to the range. We're going to put a few rounds through them. We're going to compare it with and without the suppressors, and you're going to be able to hear the difference. What we have here is the Akly Defense Pilum suppressor. First thing what we're going to do is we're going to shoot it on a 9mm carbine. Then we're going to swap out to a piston, and then we're going to try it in the Glock. Show that this sound suppressor can be swapped over right from carbine to a pistol and back and forth. We're using Sig Sauer 147 grain subsonic ammunition.
Alright, Chris, so we shot it on the carbine. Let's go ahead and swap it over, put the lid in, and put it on the pistol. Okay? This particular mount fits our QD system, so it'll work great if you have a rifle with a 9mm or 300 blackout subsonic. It's a proprietary thread system. But all of our muzzle brakes are equipped with it, so it makes an easy transition. We have adapters that'll fit any of the Max series, Uzis, 300 blackout, direct threads, half-by-28, 5/8 by 24, 9/16.
So this suppressor here can be shot on a blackout, say like an SPR blackout.
Yeah, absolutely. 300 blackout, subsonic use only on short barrels. Okay. On 16-inch and longer, you can use supersonic. So it gives you a really good, robust can. So the mount's out. With extended carbine use, you're going to want to make sure this was clean. We only ran a few magazines through it, so it'll be fine. This is the lid. It's a very simple device, but it's the piston that you have to have when you put it on a locking tipped breech pistol. In this case, it's going to be on the Glock. We got a little bit of carbon in there, but it should still be freed up a little bit. Got to pass it.
This is stuff that he uses for demos all the time, and sometimes when it's time to clean.
Well, it'll stay with the pistol. You should never have a problem because the piston cleans its track. It's when you're going from that carbine to a pistol with the piston back again. You want to make sure that chamber's clean, a little bit oiled. So it just cleared the carbon out of the way for it. On to the Glock. This is a Glock 34 frame with a Voodoo Innovations upper on it with suppressor height sights. Really, really nice system. Slide cutouts, a little bit lighter weight. It's one of my 3-gun pistols. Cool. I think you're going to like it. Yeah. Alrighty. Well, that's the transition. Not long at all.
Using the SIG subsonic ammunition, 147 grain. Well, clearly these are excellent suppressors. Both the ones that you're talking about today I've been using pretty extensively for the last couple of years, although my maintenance regimen has not been up to par. I definitely have to say that I've used them on carbines, 16-inch barrel. I've used the 22 on both the ZK-22 and the Firefly pistol, and it's worked excellent. Everything with any ammunition I put through it. I do notice with the 9mm on occasion I do get that first pop. I do notice that. The 22 I don't notice it as much.
We've got a lot of work gone into the 22 suppressor to minimize that first round pop. We are on our 3rd generation of release and probably our 27th or 28th internal to get the suppression level, to get the weight, and to get the first round pop down.
I've used a lot of different manufacturers of suppressors, and that's not uncommon, at least not from my experience.
Well, first round pop is very common in monocore suppressors, which is why we worked very, very hard, because we like the monocore system because it's very simple. It's inexpensive to manufacture, which gives us the reduced price to the end user. But it is tougher to get that first round pop out. So in the case of the Pilum, you will periodically have some first round pop, but it's inherent with the monocore design. It still is our 1st generation release. The Pilum is based off of that future-proof tube, So as we refine and develop and get even better technology, you're not going to be locked into that old design. It's still a great, very capable suppressor that competes extremely favorably with others that are on the market, even that are more expensive or larger in volume. So I think we have a great product, but you're not locked into it. So.
Well, it appears as though these are, as time goes on and they're improved, that's going to be backwards compatible. So if you have one of these, you'll be able to get the upgrades to it.
Absolutely. For NRA 2018, this first anybody will probably hear of it out publicly. We are releasing our Pilum 45 or the Pilum K. It's going to be a modular 2-piece can. It's going to be for 45 use, but the larger hole allows you to pass 9mm through it. But it's going to be a smaller K-style can, about 6 inches or so, which has a modular front end, which will be a secondary tube and core that goes onto it. So it's going to be a little bit more volume, a little bit longer with both sections to it to give you more performance with that 45 or the ability to go down in short size with it.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much for your time. Not only we get a good education on the products, but also get a good lesson from somebody who knows about how to maintain these things and what needs to be done and how to do it. Well, thank you very much for your time. We greatly appreciate it.
Great. Thanks for having me, Chris.
Thank you.